Still sitting in a truck seat that's older than your favorite pair of work boots? Your back has been filing complaints for years. If your seat is worn out, sagging, or just plain uncomfortable, it's time for an upgrade. Head on over to seatspecialist.com. Check out their selection of quality replacement seats built to keep you comfortable mile after mile. And don't forget to use promo code TR104U to save 10% on your order. Seatspecialist.com, because a better ride starts with a better seat.
Welcome back to That's Delivered. This is part 2 of our conversation with Ellen Voie, the founder of Women in Trucking Association. If you missed part 1, go check it out first. We covered Ellen's journey with her career and founding Women in Trucking. Today, we're diving into the Scholarship Foundation, obstacles women still face, and how we can all support more women in transportation. Ellen, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you so much. This is fun.
Awesome. Ellen, the Women in Trucking Scholarship Foundation has had a tremendous impact. Can you tell us what inspired you to start it and what the foundation aims to achieve?
So I started Women in Trucking Association in 2007, and it was a couple years later where a woman who has become a good friend of mine, Gina Heisel, she won the Ohio Safety Director of the Year, and they gave her a check. She handed me the check and she goes, I want this to go to a scholarship for someone who wants to be a safety director. And I thought, how do I do that? So I had to start the foundation so that we could give away scholarships. So it's a separate board of directors. And today it's grown. They've given out close to $200,000 in scholarships, if not more by now. Separate board of directors, separate management team. It's a whole separate corporation, and it's what we call a 501c3, which means it's a charitable organization, which means when you write a check to the Women in Trucking Scholarship Foundation, that's tax deductible. So, but the Scholarship Foundation gives scholarships in 4 areas. The first is for drivers. That's mostly what, CDL school. The second is safety. So certified director of safety or some kind of career in safety. The third is diesel techs. And almost every female who applies for a diesel tech scholarship will get it. And then the fourth one we loosely define as leadership. And what that means is a woman who's employed in the trucking industry who wants to further her career. Maybe she's getting an MBA. Maybe she's taking classes in whatever. She can also apply for a scholarship. So there's 4 different areas. The scholarships are $1,000 each. They go right to the school. So they're for tuition. And the scholarship applications open up twice a year. So technically somebody could apply for a scholarship twice a year. And even if they went to school for 3 years, they could technically get, $6,000. So, but a very short essay on why they want to enter the industry, what they plan to do with this, either a diesel tech or being a driver or whatever. Very short essay, and then there's judges that go over them and then award the scholarships.
Oh, so how do the judges decide what kind of who gets the scholarship for the recipients?
Well, I've been a judge all these years, and the first thing is they have to actually know the name of a school. A lot of them will say, well, I want to go to truck driving school. And when you ask them, where are you going? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, first of all, that means you haven't done your research, right?
Yeah.
You haven't done, so you need to know the name of the school that you're going to. Secondly, especially if you're applying for a CDL tuition, you have to be enrolled. You may not have started classes yet, but you have to be enrolled. A lot of them will say, well, I'm going to go in the next year or 2. Well, I'm sorry, but the money has to go to the school. And the third one, what challenges have you faced? Like if somebody tells us, well, I was a single mom, or I left an abusive relationship and I want to get my CDL and go out on the road, or maybe I started a business, or, what challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them? Because the trucking industry will throw challenges at you, especially for women who are still in the minority. So how have you been able to overcome some diversity? And those are the stories that are the most touching, because some of these women have come from backgrounds or challenges that have been very, it's very hard to read. Teen pregnancies, a lot of teen pregnancies. How How did they overcome that? And then are their expectations realistic? So if somebody applies for a CDL, a grant to go to get their CDL, and they say, well, I'm going to have a fleet of 15 trucks in the next 2 years. Okay, that's not realistic.
Wow.
So it's what challenges have you overcome? How did you overcome them? And then what are your plans for the future? And they really, you can tell if somebody's done their homework. The ones that I love are the ones who may have a family member in the trucking industry and they say, okay, my kids are grown. I want to get my CDL and go out with my husband or boyfriend or mom or sister or whatever. And that way they already know what the industry's like and they already have a step up.
Wow. Nice. What advice would you give a young woman or career changers who are interested in applying for these scholarships?
The biggest thing is to do your homework. Know what you want. Do your homework. Do your homework with the industry itself. Do your homework with choose a good school. Ask around, get recommendations. Choose a school that accommodates your schedule. And then start looking at the carriers. Like, what do you want to haul? And where do you want to haul? I don't think people realize that trucking company A might only be in the Southeast, but trucking company B might send you from New York to California, or trucking company C could keep you home on a daily basis and hauling, rail to the rail yards. And so, there's so many different jobs in the trucking industry. It's not just getting a CDL and climbing in a truck and going somewhere. It's what do you want to haul? Where do you want to haul it? How often do you want to be home? Do you have family that you need to accommodate? And just ask a lot of questions. So my advice is always make sure that you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, that's a common thread. Whenever I talk to someone that fosters individuals to get their CDL license, it's always make sure you do your homework, and also know the school, because anyone can help you get your CDL, but can they actually help you to thrive in the industry and be successful? Because you can get your license and get in trouble right away, and then you're out of that money, and you're also not able to provide for yourself like you intended to do when you first got into it. So that homework goes a long ways. I mean, and I can hear that resonate from you as well. That you've probably seen some failures just from the jump, from someone just trying to get a scholarship and they just didn't do the homework on that. So it's best to get a good footing on the ground.
We actually put together on our website, if you go to womenintrucking.org and click on driver portal, all the questions that we get asked, the phone calls that come in, we do research and then answer them. We'll either answer them in a video or in a paper. And here's some interesting questions that have come up. One is, can I get my CDL if I have a felony? We get that question a lot lately. So the answer is yes and no, right? Because what are you hauling? Where are you hauling? And I once asked Waste Management, I said, do you haul felons? And they said, depends on the job, or it depends on the felony. So if it's child, like child molestation, then they cannot do home pickup. But they said if it's theft, they can have all the trash they want. They don't care. I'm kidding, but so it depends. But and you could not haul government munitions if you have a felony. You cannot go into Canada. So you can get hired if you have a felony. So when we started getting those calls, we did the research and said, here's the things you need to ask yourself. So it's things like that. It's like, what questions are people asking and how can we prepare them, male or female? This has nothing to do with women in the industry at this point. It's more, how can we prepare them and help them find the answers that they need before they make that commitment?
Have you seen someone, they just got released from jail and got a job the next day because they pursued the right, or they asked the right questions and was able to start work? Have you seen anything like that?
Yes, I can name 2 or 3 companies, trucking companies, that specifically hire felons because the owner was a felon.
Wow.
So there's a company in Chicago too that will help drivers formerly incarcerated, help them buy a box truck, and make home deliveries. So there's companies out there that are actively, recruiting and accommodating drivers who have paid for their mistakes.
I mean, that's huge for rehabilitation. I mean, to feel like you have a chance, to feel like there's hope for you um, to start over, you know? And
Absolutely.
I think that instead of saying, well, what's the point? You know, that's not what we want. We
Oh,
want people to
absolutely.
feel emboldened to better themselves, to grow. I mean, that's great that the trucking industry can provide that. That's great. That's really great.
Somebody's got
Um,
to give you a chance, right? Somebody's got to give you that first chance.
yep. What do you think schools and educational institutions can do to encourage more young women to explore trucking and transportation careers?
Well, they need to get out and start talking about what is the day in the life of, a diesel tech or a safety director or whatever it is that they're training for. What is that day like? Because if I was going into a career, I'd want to shadow someone. I'd want to know, what is your day like? How early do you get up? How strenuous is the job? And does it accommodate a family and things like that? So they really need to say, this is this person who enjoys her job in the industry, and this is what a typical day is like. So that takes away some of the uneasiness and not knowing. Secondly, they need to find dollars. The Women in Trucking Scholarship Foundation will provide $1,000, but that's not a whole education. So they need to help them find the grants or the tuition dollars. And then the third part is they need to help them find the job on the other end.
Do you have some insights on that? The grants part and how will they pursue that? Um,
Well, there's
ask the
there's
right
companies.
questions.
Well, there's companies like Ryder that if you want to be a diesel tech, they'll actually help you. There are some companies out there that need diesel techs enough that they will actually help you with the training part of it. Um, Maybe even with tools. I mean, that's a huge issue. My brother, he went to technical school and he right out of high school and he went to fix small engine repair. Right away, they needed a toolbox with the tools. And that could stop some people from entering an industry. So how can the school help them either obtain the tools, maybe on a payment basis, whatever, but there's got to be ways for them to address any obstacle that might keep someone from succeeding.
So don't think of it as you're going to get in 100%, $0. That's
Right.
probably not the mindset to have, but to know that you'll have help with the process. And that probably would start with the employer and maybe work your way backwards, go find, like you said, writer and say, what do I have to do to work here, and see if they have some advice for you. And then let the school work for you to subsidize that. And then I feel like maybe those two can work together to help the individual be successful.
That's a great way of looking at it, because there's three different types of truck driving schools out there as well. There's the publicly funded ones, which would be a technical college. There's privately owned ones, where they proprietary schools. And then you've got those large mega carriers that have their own schools.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe free, but guess what? You're going to sign a contract that says you're going to work for them for the next 12 to 18 months. So it's sure, if you want to go to school free and be in a contract with them for a certain amount of time, just know what you're up against.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Do your research again. Do your homework. That's awesome. So the challenges and opportunities today, I'm sure there's plenty. Despite progress, there's still obstacles in women in trucking. What do you see as the biggest challenges right now that you've seen when it comes to Women in Trucking Scholarship Foundation helping individuals get that to be successful?
Well, overall, for women in the industry, the biggest obstacle is that women often don't picture themselves in the industry. So if I talk to women and I say, have you ever thought about being a diesel tech or driving a truck or safety director? They just look at me like, no. And in fact, my own sister-in-law was an educator. And I said, well, have you ever thought about going to a large carrier because they have classes? Have you ever thought about going there and asking how you can get in the training help as a trainer, not a driver trainer necessarily, but, a trainer in maybe communication skills or things like that. So there's, even if you're in marketing or advertising, the trucking industry needs marketing and advertising people and HR people. So it's interesting that so many people don't even think about the trucking industry when they look at their career goals. And that's where, we need to say, this industry employs 1 out of 14 people, and it's huge. So there's lots of opportunities here. But, when you're in the trucking industry, we're immersed in it. But people outside the industry will tell me, well, I see the trucks on the road, but I don't think about them. Well, the only time they think about them is if they're going too slow in front of them or if there's an accident, right?
Right. Yeah.
Those are the 2 times, and that both of them are an inconvenience. They don't look at those trucks and go, oh, that's delivering my clothes or delivering my gas grill, whatever. They don't look at the trucks on the road and make a personal connection.
Yeah. I didn't think about it that much either, even though I did want to be a truck driver when I was young. I just didn't know how I could do it because I always thought they were going over the road and they'd be away from their families for a very long time. I never thought about the local aspect. And of course, the industry was different back then because a lot of times that's the way you had to start, was to go over the road, and then kind of work your way back. But that has changed a lot over the years. And I really applaud the industry for making that change and letting the door be open to a lot of individuals that probably want to be more local. And like you said, there was always still things like your trash pickup, and many other jobs that aren't long distance. But you don't think about it because, they go unseen, like the beverage industry, Coca-Cola. That's not long haul. You may have to do a lot more work, but yet you're still home every day. And I could have started in the trucking industry way earlier than I started. I've only been doing it for 10 years. So if I had started sooner, the amount of money you can make, you can retire sooner. I didn't even think of that. So yeah, you just got to make your mind up and go for it. And if you're going to do something, do it 100%. And I think that's great how you guys started as well. I was thinking, is that job something or is it a different job title? Traffic manager? Is that more of a dispatch manager now?
Traffic manager, meaning you're working for a shipper, meaning that you're coordinating the outbound and inbound loads. So
they call it logistics manager more so.
Yeah.
You can get a
and
huge
at the
degree
time
in
we
that.
had 3 of our own trucks, so that did some dispatching as well.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, even the shipping part of things, knowing all those, if it's hazmat, I mean, that's a huge responsibility. It's almost like an art form that you have to continue to learn because it's changing, and so they need individuals to do that. I mean, hazmat in itself is it's like a whole nother world.
Yeah, it actually is. And also the LTL world is getting much more complex because they're actually looking at loads or shipments based on their density. It's not just, oh, how much room is it going to take up in the truck? How high does it go? Can I stack things on top of it? I mean, it's a lot more complicated than it was a number of years ago, but that's good because it increases productivity, right?
Right. Wow. And then even if there's probably going to be some changes with security on freight because of how much loss prevention. I mean, that's huge in itself. I mean, trying to keep freight to its destination without it being interrupted is that's a huge task in itself. I mean, I know if they're putting RFID chips on things and tracking them wherever they go, I'm like, wow. That's a
scary though? I mean, the cargo theft industry has gotten worse and worse. And sometimes it's something so simple where they'll call the driver and say, oh, take it to this warehouse instead of that one. And the driver does it. It's like, you just got hijacked. You just delivered it to the wrong location and they stole it. I mean, it's sometimes it's not even you. It's not even the technology that creates the problem. It's just the people that are the bad guys.
Wow. Yeah, the industry gets smarter, and then the criminal gets smarter as well. I mean, or just even more brazen. I mean, I watched an episode on the news where people were just pulling items out of the cargo of the rail. Mind-boggling. Yeah. Like almost like a whole community. That's blows my mind. I don't know if it's stuff that always happened or we just cover it more because there's more cameras, more phones, but it does seem to be on an increase, and the numbers really show it. So yeah, I mean, kind of circle back to some of the challenges. How can companies create more inclusive environments for women, particularly in leadership positions?
Well, I'm seeing more and more women. It used to be Smith and Sons Trucking, and it was the sons who assumed to take over. I'm seeing more and more trucking companies now where the daughters are taking over, and I love it. Viria Trucking here in Wisconsin, Karen Smirchek owns a greater share than her brother. Their dad started the company, and so she's the CEO. She has a slightly higher percentage of the company, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's we shouldn't just automatically assume that the sons are taking over.
Right.
And the other one that I am so proud of is Shelley Simpson at JB Hunt. First, CEO, a female president, and JB Hunt is huge. Yeah. And so to see more women in higher levels who are visible is very inspiring.
Wow, you're right, absolutely right. So man, JB Hunt is huge. I mean, I see them all the time, and they have a beautiful fleet. I mean, they keep their trucks nice, their trailers nice. It's pretty admirable to watch. Are there any specific policies or practices that you've seen worked really well in helping companies or institutions to help women in the workforce?
Well, the biggest practice that I would advocate is ask the women in your company what you're doing right and what you could do better. Don't necessarily ask them what you're doing wrong, because nobody benefits from that. Just say, what are we doing right? But what can we be doing better? And they'll tell you. It doesn't matter what level they're at. If you really give them the forum to be able to do that, maybe in a group or whatever. But when you sit your female associates down and just say, what are we doing right? What can we do better? They'll tell you. And then you have to act on it. You can't just take that information and say, well, we'll work on that next year. It doesn't work that way. If they tell you we need women's showers, or we need women's uniform shirts, or, I need something so somebody can, pump breast milk in the cab of a truck. I mean, you better do something about it so that you can accommodate them if you're going to ask them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really nice. So actions for change in the future. Let's talk some solutions. What can individuals and companies in the trucking industry as a whole help more women thrive in the field? So let's say we have can truck drivers themselves, both men and women, be advocates for change on the road within their companies. What's your take on that?
So women are not looking for special treatment. I'll tell you that. Okay. Not front row parking at the truck stop, not special trucks. All women want is a level playing field. So if you're out there and you're a male driver, be an ally. And if don't just stand there and watch a woman back up, be a spotter. Make sure that you're doing the same thing you would for a female driver that you would do for a male driver. Same as technicians. Don't assume that diesel tech doesn't know what she's doing. She's there and she's gone through the training. So don't give her any grief about it. So it's really, it's don't make assumptions about that person. Put it that way. Assume good intent. Assume that they know what they're doing. And if you can be helpful in that environment, then be helpful.
Nice.
But don't be negative.
Awesome. Are there any initiatives or campaigns that's being started by women in trucking that's working on, let's say, for the future for our listeners to know about?
Well, one of the things I'm really proud of is the Whitney trailer, and it's WIT Whitney. So it's a huge tractor trailer. We have a driver ambassador, and there's a hands-on learning environment in there. There's touch screen pads. There's like, do I have it in my DNA to be a driver? What are some of the myths about trucking? What are some of the jobs in trucking? It's even got women's clothing. There's steel-toed boots in there. There's safety wear for women. Work wear for women with lots of pockets, because typically they don't give us pockets. So yeah, women often have clothes that don't have pockets. So anyway,
I go shopping with my wife too, and I can scratch my head. I'm like,
but in the front of the trailer is a simulator, so people can sit down and see what it's like to be in the cab of a big rig. So that that trailer goes to trade shows, it goes to schools, it goes to industry events, lots of Girl Scout events. I didn't mention the Girl Scout patch, but one of the things that I'm really proud of is that I found out the Boy Scouts had a supply chain patch, and the Girl Scouts didn't. And so we worked with the Greater Chicago, Northern Indiana chapter and created a Girl Scout patch. And the activity book that goes with it is called Scouting for Cookies. And in the activity book, it talks about how the grain goes from the field to the bakery in a truck, bakery to packaging in a truck, packaging to warehousing or whatever. And who's the final mile? It's the Girl Scout. So I don't know how many girls have now earned that patch, but it's well over 1,000. And they're learning about supply chain. So we're getting them at a very young age and teaching them that, hey, there's careers here that are important.
Wow. How nice. Man, that's those little things, right? They go so far. Well, that's nice.
Well, and there's one other thing I need to mention,
Yeah.
and that's the Accelerate Conference in November. And the very first year, of course, we're scared to death, doing a conference. It's been over 10 years. And the very first year we had 300 people. And this year it could be almost 2,000 people at the conference. I think it was about 1,800 last year. So picture a trucking conference with 85% women. 85%, there's still 15% men. There's never a line in the men's restroom, I can tell you that. At the event. But the conference, the thing that is amazing to me is that companies will send 50, 60, 70 employees to our conference. And it's because it's a very educational conference. It's networking, but you're learning. There's lots of workshops, keynote speakers. It's for men and women, everything, communication styles and leadership and things like that. There's different tracks that you can attend the speakers. But I think Amazon sent like 74 people a couple of years ago. I mean, that tells you that they know it's a good educational event when you send that many people from one company.
Well, I mean, I see your pictures on social media and you guys look way more excited than some of the schools I went to. I'm like, man,
it's a lot of fun.
like they're so excited. Look at that. It's contagious, love that. Oh man. So, how can truck drivers, I guess, be supportive of any initiatives or any of these campaigns that you guys are working on? Just let our listeners know, hey, maybe how can they reach out? Is there any groups or like social media or anything like that?
Absolutely. Women in Trucking is all over social media, everything from Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it. So the Women in Trucking Association, the website is womenintrucking.org. Lots of information on there. You can sign up. If you're a student, the dues are only, I think, $15. If you're a driver, it's like $35 a year to be a member. So I would say anyone out there, become a member. You could also, if you're a trucking company, you can be a member. It depends on the size of the company, either $550 a year or $1,100 a year, depending, like I said, on the size of the company. So I would say join to support the mission. But for the foundation, write a check. They need the money so they can give out scholarships. And that's womenintruckingfoundation.org. But you can also find the foundation going through the association website. So we'll make it easy, womenintrucking.org. And you can find everything on there.
Right. Love that. That's a good way to put support and to put that, put your money where your mouth is and help individuals where they need it most. So that's great. And also just to show that support, just showing up and cheering them on, that I think that's huge as well. Kind of a wild card. I'm curious, wild card question. What do you guys think of autonomous vehicles? I know you're making all this progress and getting women into the trucking field, and there's this catalyst of something growing off on the side.
So here's
what do you guys
my
think?
response to autonomous vehicles. You're not going to see the truck drivers are not going to go away. You'll always need an operator, because even in an airplane that's got an autopilot, you still have two pilots up there. So truck drivers aren't going away. The job is going to change. But the biggest thing about autonomous vehicles is all the safety equipment going on there, all the LiDAR, the radar, the lane departure, all that stuff that's going on there is making it a safer workplace for everyone, not just women, but it's a safer workplace. So I love all the technology that takes away driver error, as long as it works. As long as it works.
I
Make
agree.
sure that it's really working.
Not just the bell.
Yeah, exactly. So autonomous vehicles, you're not going to see them prevalent in my lifetime. You're going to see a few out there, and they're going to be testing them, but I don't think it's going to take away a driver's job in the near future.
That's cool. Yeah, it's nice to hear you speak on that as well. Um, well, looking ahead for the next 5 to 10 years, are you excited of any initiatives or partnerships that you're particularly thinking about that's in the works, maybe that you could speak on?
So I actually retired. I retired from Women in Trucking. Yeah, I did. I'm the founder. I'll always be the founder, but I retired last year. I still have my radio show, but the board of directors hired a new CEO, and the biggest challenge for me is letting things go. It's still hard. I mean, I'll still attend the conference, and I still have a good relationship with the staff and everything. But so I need to find new things to do with my life. And
Wow.
flying my airplane is one of them. I have 3 granddaughters, so I spend a lot of time with them. So my life has changed a lot in the last year.
That's so cool. So you're flying.
I'm fine. Yep.
Man, that's always been a dream of mine.
Oh, you should do it. You should do it.
I've done a Groupon, and I've went up in a little Cessna
Mhm.
and got to hold the yoke for a little bit, and was real tense. But yeah,
Well,
if I could,
I have a Cessna Skyhawk. It's a little 4-seater.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, wow, that's really cool. And I applaud that. That's really neat to see, especially your journey and all that hard work you put in, and you got to see you get the wheels turning. I mean, you hit the ground running. I mean, the things you talk about and the research you did, and you and your team, and putting it all together, those pieces, man, that's remarkable. And we thank you for your hard work.
Well,
Yeah.
and you mentioned the team, and you couldn't do it without a team. And as we grew and grew and grew, we would just keep adding, new people to the team. And we're all virtual. So everyone works out of their home office. So you have to hire people who are self-motivated,
Right.
and don't need somebody looking over their shoulder. So that's the secret to success, is finding people who fit in the culture.
What's one of your greatest accomplishments behind you? You got quite the layout back there. It's really
Yeah, I would say the one in the middle was being named Transportation Innovator Champion of Change by President Obama
really.
in 2012, and got to go to the White House and take my board of directors with me.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that
That
was
is
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
Transportation Innovator Champion of Change.
Man, you took it all the way up to the top. Man. Wow, that's awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for taking this time out to be on the show. And it's my honor to be able to put this together for our listeners to hear. And Ellen, it's been such a delight. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your passion, your incredible work that you've done in Women in Trucking. And before we wrap it up, what's the best way for our listeners to reach out again? Can you mention that?
Sure. womenintrucking.org. And you can actually reach out to me through the website as well. There's actually a message Ellen on there. So even though I'm not the CEO anymore, I'm still the founder. So I'm always very intricately involved. And I still do speaking. I still do podcasts. I still do, interviews and things like that. So I'll always be the founder, put it that way.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Thank you again, and for being here today. And it's been an honor to have you on That's Delivered. And I want our listeners to know that if you learned anything that you like, you can always send us a comment, a review. You can share, subscribe. So thank you so much for being a part of this current conversation, Ellen. And we look forward to seeing the continuing impact that you have for the trucking industry and beyond.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Are you a trucker looking for a safe and reliable place to park? Look no further than Truck Parking Club. With locations across the country, we've got the perfect spot waiting for you, whether it's daily or long-term parking. And right now, use promo code DELIVERED at checkout for an exclusive discount. Reserve your spot today at truckparkingclub.com and drive stress-free, knowing your parking is covered.